Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks, another episode of Beyond All Reason. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Coastlines Dry. Totally didn't forget the name right there and have to go look at it in the bottom corner. Coastlines Dry. It feels like we never got to take a look at this map, and then all of a sudden, I have 3 or 4 replays sent in, all featuring this map, all at the same time. Not sure exactly what happened right there, but I guess I'm glad to take a look at a map that otherwise is not played all too often here. So why don't we meet our team leaders in this match? Spawning over here on the eastern side, representing the blue team as a Cortex commander, coming in by the name of Unicorn Cats, going to that triple max double solar start that we're all so very familiar with. Spawning all the way on the other side of the map, representing the red team as an Armada commander up here on this little plateau of success. It's going to be Ural, going for that bot lab right after a solar panel and a wind turbine and a hypothetical second solar panel here. Third eco structure, second solar panel. Looks like that hypothetical will become a reality here as we go into a res bot there as well for our red team leader. So some interesting spots on this map. Let's do our little pre-game analysis before we get into the early game here. Interesting big flat terrain over in the bottom lanes. Going to mean the vehicles obviously are going to be very powerful over here. Blitzes, medium tanks, all that sort of stuff that we know and love. Little complicated congestion zone right here in the middle of the map. And oftentimes on this map, what I feel like I see is that this entire area right here can either win or lose the game based on how much of an emphasis the commanders put on this. And sometimes it's funny to see, but sometimes we just see entire teams ignore this section of the map just because it's so complicated to maneuver around. But it can be tremendously beneficial to have an open access way this deep into the enemy backline, right? So anyway, there's also a similar sort of ground right here. It's a little less complicated. It's got this big open area in the middle, and then you've got these little pillars and towers and whatnot that are making a small circle around in that sort of northern middle section of the map. And then all the way up north here, again, we have a little bit of a flat terrain, a little bit more bumpy than the southern side, but certainly going to be quite good for vehicles here as well. There's a little, I guess you could call these fallback points for bots to sort of rally around. They could make it difficult for vehicles to get up and over and around those hills right there, so you could use that to your advantage here. My goodness, we are producing ticks here. Rage sending across 1, 2, 3, 4, a whole bunch of ticks. Not gonna bother counting. There we go, 15 ticks all the way across the map right now. And you know what, for what it's worth, takes down a construction bot here. That's a phenomenal start as well. A couple of rovers sacrificed to kill a metal extractor over here. I think that's definitely well worth it. LLT over here going to be pretty good for dealing with some of these ticks, but there's so many of them that they're still going to be able to take down a metal extractor. Very nicely done. Now a lot of these are just rallied over here. I wonder if we're going to be able to get any more work done. LLTs in the bases here are going to keep things nice and safe, and these grunts are going to be phenomenal for cleaning a whole lot of this back up here. Yeah, gonna res that construction bot. I think it's probably a good idea here. Getting that back up and running and on the front lines is probably going to be quite a bit more valuable. So for all those ticks that we pumped out, we essentially killed one res bot, and we didn't even really fully kill it. We just kind of delayed it, if anything. And then we also killed 2 metal extractors. So was it worth it for 15 ticks? I mean, the math is probably gonna add up towards the ticks anyway. 17 metal apiece. It's pretty close. 100 metal versus the, 170 or so. Yeah, not bad. Certainly going to put a little bit of an economic hamper on the blue player who's now going to rebuild this. There we go. Looks like the... Oh, no, sorry. It looks like the cyan player. Well, I guess it's a different shade of blue here. Yeah, cyan player now up and running with that constructor moving forward. You know what? It's close, but I think that advantage is probably a whole lot smaller than I'm making it out to be here. JTL holding the northern front right here. We do already have a whole bunch of blitzes out on the front lines right now. We have a couple of incisors. No, sorry, a couple of blitzes moving across right now for Governor. By the way, what a phenomenal stack of a match right here. Tons and tons of silver chevrons. That means these commanders have, I believe it's 1,000 hours is what the silver gets you. I think 500 to 1,000 is the one with the little silver tail. And then 1,000 is after you have the... Or you get silver after you have 1,000 right there. So this is definitely a very experienced match. Oh, that's a nice pick. On the resbot right there. Zaber not going to be... Or maybe it's just Saber. Not going to be able to save the day right there as those grunts do get the snipe and then retreat backwards here. Very nicely done by Unicorn Cats. Bit Pusher 16. Holding a nice little push on the front lines with the commander here. Looking pretty good. Going to blast down a pawn at the very least. Making sure to step forward. What are we going for here? Oh, interesting. Ural and Polygon, both of which being extremely aware of what's going on over here. Handing over a whole bunch of metal, hopefully. I imagine that's what we're going for. Yeah, we're sending some build power over in this direction. I wonder if that's the idea here. 2 commanders going to work on T2 at the same time. This is a bit of an interesting, sort of cheeky strategy, but yeah, I guess we're gonna We're gonna send some build power and some energy and all that sort of stuff over here to the yellow commander so that we can get that T2 up as quickly as possible. Saber in a little bit of trouble. Shuriken up in the air though, going to be great for shutting down a whole lot of this. Airplane comes in though to clean up most of those drones. Yeah, there they go. All those Shurikens get shot down with this T1 fighter right here. Very nicely done by that Valiant. Living up to the name, I suppose, here. JTL managed to take down his opposed commander over here as well and started eating up that corpse. Hasn't gotten all the way through it, about halfway. Still a nice little chunk of metal sent all the way back here, and certainly explains probably the reason why we jumped into T2 quite so quickly here. Otherwise, I think that probably would have been a bit of a risky decision. Looks like we de-gunned down the rest of that here. Also very nice. Gonna make sure... Oh, pardon me. Pardon me, my laundry alarm just went off. For everybody who may have just checked their Android phone, I do apologize. Not as bad as the Discord notifications, I think. Those used to be really unsettling before I found out about streamer mode, so that I don't accidentally trigger a whole bunch of people into checking their phones like that. Starting up a T2 economy, 5 minutes, right around 6 minutes actually. Although usually the live comes up around 6 minutes, so this is a pretty early T2. Basically no units out on the front line right here for the yellow commander. This is a risky way to play this. Rocketeer's trying to get some work done on this. This beaver turret's gonna do pretty good though. Yeah, blasting away at those aggravators. 1, 2, maybe it'll get a third. Not quite. Goes down before the third one has time to go down right here. And so at the very least, JTL is going to be forced backwards ever so slightly here by some of these units. Oh, unless they sit still and he can get some D-guns off. That was 2,000 energy right down the drain right there, and only one aggravator down though. So maybe not the most, maybe not the most cost-effective D-guns here, but certainly threatening at the very least. These T2 units on the front lines are going to make a huge impact though. Governor is going to be incredibly upset to see these T2 hit the line, so we can't lose the commander. We absolutely can't lose the commander here. If you lose that commander, you lose all your power over medium tanks, which are pretty much going to have to be cleaned up by the D-gun from the commander there. Bit of a tricky situation, right? You have to clean them up with the D-gun, but you can't afford to lose your commander, so you don't really want to go put it in an engagement against them. Mauser here firing away, doing so much damage. Really, really nice, and at the very least going to help JTL hold this front line. That is a impressively quick T2 transition right there. My goodness, we are quick into it. Now, Unicorn Cats has decided not to ignore this area, in fact, taking full advantage of it, sending a whole bunch of thugs over in this direction. We do have some res bots here as well, hopefully going to be resurrecting and repairing and doing all that sort of stuff to keep this army well alive and pushing as much as possible here. So a nice positional advantage for Governor. He doesn't have these metal extractors, though. That's really the only point of grabbing those. Rage here still contributing as well, making sure to get a little bit of a flank going, making sure to apply pressure multidimensionally. More and more of these Mauser come out, though, and they're going to be a huge pain to deal with. Yeah, even now, those Janus tanks are in a whole lot of trouble. Medium tanks going to start being blasted apart by some lightning tanks as well. 3 Mauser definitely going to be more than enough to ward off any of those T1 rocket bots. And just like that, we see an extremely quick T2 transition ending up working out tremendously here. Basically just going up to a T2 economy right now in the backline for Ural, our Canadian red team leader. Bing, bing, bang. Going to be holding on to the front line alongside with Rise Heaven, trying to push forward as much as possible. A couple of pawns sent on a little run by over here. That's actually quite sweet. Yeah, gonna get a metal extractor for their troubles. Might even get another one. Rocketeers trying their very best, but yeah, not actually able to kill these. Oh, I'd love if this energy converter took these out right here. It seems like it was close, but I guess not. One of them goes down to the metal extractor here, but nice little run by with those pawns. So difficult to judge whether you actually have an opening or not using those T1 units, but that is a really, really nice move right there. Rage cut a little bit far forward. Yeah, a little bit exposed is that Tan commander here. The T2 units are coming out to try and save the day, but Rage definitely has to retreat back to the comfort of some of those static defenses here. He's got a little LLT force that he can pull back to and try and utilize as a little bit of an opportunity to maybe stabilize here. We'll see. Boy, these aggravators are lucky. 3 or 4 D-guns have soared past their ears, just narrowly grazing them, taking chips and chunks out of their sides, but not quite hitting them head on here. I'd be pretty terrified. If I saw a D-gun hurtling its way across the battlefield directly towards me, a ball of plasma carving a hole, a spherical hole directly through the battlefield. Yeah, that's pretty imposing, I have to say. This T2 transition could absolutely crush Zydka, though. There's no units on the field. There's no T2 transition in sight here. We're going to basically need a Teamwork T2 transition in order to do anything against this T2 up here. I mean, this is just complete all-in on the northern front. We're not interested in teching up. We're not interested in eco. We're just interested in making more units and sending them across. And with the tech advantage here, we're not going to need as many of those units in order to actually break the lines right here. Janus tank gets caught. Flamethrower is exposed right here, so at least we know that that's a turret. Won't have to send units to their doom over there. Resbot's trying to patch things up over here. That's always nice to see. Gof pushing pretty far forward right now as well, but a little bit of a stalemate on the middle section of this map here. Yeah, I will conquer running up against some of these thugs over here, trying desperately to get a D. Oh, this could be a huge D gun. Gets 2 of them. Gets 4 of them. Oh, can we get another one? He's going to back off right here. Probably the right decision, actually. A little bit risky to go for anything more than that here. Slow but steady grind for Rise Heaven. Pushing forward with the Centurion. Would love to see this one pulled back here and use his resbots to patch it back up. I mean, I'm sure that's what those resbots are there for in the first place, making sure that these get back up even after they've fallen. Not even in death does the Centurion's duty end. Oh, getting real close to those rockets there. Rise Heaven using the commander is a little bit of a buffer too. Can't really push an entire army into a commander lest you want to lose it all. Not going to matter, though. T1 forces have now swarmed to the base of Zydka, and there's not been an appropriate team response from the blue, and that means that now T1 as well as T2 are going to start making their way directly into the heart of the blue team, peeling back the layers, as it were, and slowly but surely dismantling a whole lot of the force right here behind the northern section of the blue team. We need an immediate diversion of forces here. We do have a T1 Cortex Air Lab, so maybe a Shuriken catching all these Mauser and then maybe sending in, oh, I'm not sure, maybe a bunch of pawns or grunts or something like that in order to clean those up really, really efficiently. That might work. But again, you're dealing with the anti-air from these lightning tanks as well, so it's going to be really hard to get any amount of air forces up and under that army. Up and over that army, I suppose, actually. It's a slow death, losing to the Mauser. They just slowly keep building up in numbers here, but slowly but surely, they are going to press a tremendous advantage. So the southern side only needs to hold on here. Bit Pusher, not interested in teching up right now. We're just going for more and more T1. Doesn't really need to. Opponent doesn't appear to be teching up either, although I would argue that with this much buffer space, Rise 7 could probably afford it if he wanted to go for tech up. Hounds are now out, which will be nice. At the very least, they're on the same damage profile as those T2 tanks. Going to be able to keep up with them better than the T1 units at the very least, but there's just so many forces here already. T1 Lab goes down right here as well for Governor, now losing all of his wind turbines as well. LLT, hero of the early game, now going down right here as the Mauser continue to roll on in. We even have a radar bot here in order to make sure that we're firing at full capacity. We have resbots patching together things as well, so we're using these medium tanks as sort of HP buffer in the front lines. Finally, some dark blue forces are pulled away from the fronts, sent up north here, but I think it's far too late. We've already got 2 players down on the economy. The overall economies are roughly the same, although I will say the red team is pulling in quite a bit more energy. Aside from that, though, the metal is about roughly even. Part of that is because the blue team invested heavily in T1 economy, whereas the red team didn't quite get the opportunity to invest in all that. They just put it all into tech rather than economy. But with T2 out and available now, the T2 transition is going to shoot them off exponentially, and they're going to start growing at an ever-increasing rate here. Mauser not going to care too much about a Pitbull coming up, but certainly those T1 units are going to feel the sting of that pop-up plasma Gauss cannon here. Firing away at a lot of those medium tanks. Definitely an excellent way of clearing those. Also overkills them, which means you won't have to worry about them doing any sort of resurrection shenanigans here, which have otherwise been pretty prevalent. Fiend's stinking up the mixture here, though. Certainly in a good spot. They catch a couple of those Mauser, weakening the fire support that was coming out of the backline. Eventually that Pitbull falls here, though, and that was definitely a huge source of DPS that was available for the base defense. With that done and gone, I think these Mauser are going to be more than enough to chip away at the base over here. Down goes the production facility for Gof as well. Now 3 players down for the blue team. This is a last-ditch desperate attempt right here for Bing Bing Bang. He needs to push through and kill basically everybody in the center of the map right here for the red team, and I just don't think he has the numbers for it. These are a lot of heavy hitter units, but he doesn't have resbots up here in the mixture. He doesn't have anything to keep these units sustained for all too long, so the medium tanks, once their health is out, they're going to just become corpses on the battlefield that the other team is going to be eager to reclaim here. It's a lot of maces, but with T2 on the field, yeah, it's just not going to be a very efficient fight. The reclaim here making the most of a pretty poor situation. Certainly trying desperately to fund armies all over the place here. Forward production facilities for the purple commander. Already, though, tremendous amount of losses over here for Gof. More and more of these Mauser are slowly trickling out into the field here. Ural transporting the commander over here, I suppose, going to try and go for a little bit of a cheeky play over on that mountaintop. I don't mind it one bit. We're still pumping out T2 units, by the way. We're making a whole bunch of bulls at this point. I think that's a great idea, especially when you're funding them using your enemy's base. Certainly a very efficient way of making those extremely expensive units. Notice the timing of that, right? The transition towards those more expensive T2 units came after we have the, for in this case, the console, not a resbot in this case, but after we have a constructor of any sort out here eating up the corpses from the front lines, essentially turning your victory into an even more exponential victory. Nicely done right here by JTL. The push was deflected over here. You can see the corpses littering the battlefield over here, and we do have resbots eating up a whole bunch of this different stuff, as well as Zaber's commander. Bing, bing, bang. Still pretty far forward on the front lines here. Bit Pusher actually died over here. Looks like there was a commander explosion. I must have missed a comm bomb over there. I feel like I've been slacking on those recently. Southern side has crumbled more or less, but we're still on T2. Sorry, T1. It's gonna take, yeah, that's a Centurion right over there. That's pretty funny. You're all setting up a forward bot lab over here, I suppose. Not a bad idea. Going to be able to trickle some of those bots into the back line here and make a little bit of an impact. Grunts now streaming down the mountainsides into the, I guess, the back line here for Whizzlefloop, the dark green commander. Still trying to resurrect stuff, by the way. With a single laboratory up and running. Very, very slow to production base. Medium tank's going to clean up a whole lot of these units that are over here. The red team can at this point just afford to be inefficient with their trades just because there's so much metal coming back to them from all this wreckage that was over here. We're going to try and resurrect a lot of these units. I don't mind that, but I think maybe trying to eco as hard as humanly possible would be the most efficient way of dealing with this. Sure, it can actually bypass these hounds over here. I wouldn't wonder if maybe those hounds would be really easily paralyzed, then suddenly become a dangerously expensive army to lose right there for the lime green commander. Here are those bulls that came up a little while back, though. The other thing about the bulls is they're essentially infinitely recyclable, right? They're not going to be overkilled by hardly anything in this game. There's very few units that are going to be able to overkill the bull. And what that means is that their corpses are obviously going to be resurrectable. Now, the sumos I could say the same thing for, but the bulls survived the engagement, meaning that the advantage is, of course, going to go back to the yellow commander here. So if we get some more of those resbots out on the field, looks like a lot of them have been put down, but certainly Ural could be capable of doing that. Actually capturing some of the some of the structures over here. That's quite nice. Going to detonate those, I suppose. Trying to prevent the red commander from capturing all that stuff. A sort of scorched earth tactic, I suppose. But this is looking worse and worse here for the blue team. You can see the economies are now shifting quite heavily. 300 or so metal, including reclaim. About 280 or so minus it. 250 maybe. Versus 120-ish for the blue team's production. Definitely looking pretty bad right now for the blue team. They're going to need a crazy huge hit right now in order to actually equalize this. This could be it. A lot of medium tanks in the backline. If we prioritize things right, we could certainly take down at least one T2 production facility right here. A lot of build power going down. Medium tanks trying their very best to take down the lab as well. I think they might get it. There they go. Taking down the T2 lab right there for Saber. Definitely going to slow that down. A whole bunch more medium tanks also peeling up towards the northern side. This is exactly the production facility that's actually sending these units up north. So shutting this off is a huge boon to the purple team, for the purple players specifically, but also to the blue team in general. Build power being targeted right there. Does pop. We're going to go for the fusion. We're going to go for the fusion here. I like it. Oh, it's going to be close. Fusion reactor does blow. That sends a ripple through the yellow economy right here. Certainly stunning the yellow economy, paralyzing it even. But I think there's just too many forces already across the map right here. These bulls obviously not reliant on power like some of these other units like the welders, like the sumos, all that sort of stuff. So taking down the fusion reactor at this point, not really going to matter all too much, especially with this killer bombing run coming in from Ural here, shutting down any further hopes that the blue team had of closing out any sort of comeback mechanics in this game. Certainly those T1 whirlwinds are going to be putting some hurt on the remainders of the blue armies here. Bulls and Jaguars making a beeline towards the last remaining technologically advanced civilization here on the red team, sending their firepower directly down towards Rise Heaven's facility down south here. Was this abducted? Was this taken over? No, it wasn't. Rise 7 was always down here. I'm getting a little confused. Either way, blue team realizes that it's pointless fight to go on. They detonate all their materials to keep them from falling into the red team's hands, and the red team snatches victory today in this epic match beyond all reason. JTL winning a Golden Cow Award for crushing the Northern Frontier with the support of his red ally, and eventually turning that into a victory here on this match. Let me know what you thought about it down below in the comment section. Let me know if there's anything that I missed, and I would be happy to agree with you probably down below in the comment section. Oftentimes there's some really good stuff down there, so I definitely recommend you check it out. Also check out the Discord and the Twitch link, which I'll also have in the description, and I will see you in the very next Beyond All Reason video. Peace out, folks.